And going into our next sketch, we're going to pull this back over. So you make sure I'm going the right way. We have kind of an elliptical shape. So there'll be different definitions on the ellipse, but pretty much the 4.25 by 6.5 is going to give us our node points. Again, we have the hex. We have a couple of center lines, so this time we'll put in the center lines first and then go through, start creating our geometry. So good idea to, unless you're going to use this right away, just go ahead and close it. We'll prepare to do our next part, and I'll turn on the origin. And my normal process is to right-click on click on the front plane, go into the to the sketch, and then if we were to go to, let's see if it's in Sketch Entities. So we get the line. If I come down a little over, I'll see the center line. All right, and this is going to be infinite length vertical. I'll drop it on the origin and OK. Switch to horizontal and place it, and then usually I'm just going to select out of it so that I can start whatever geometry is going to come up next. Alright, so the ellipse is going to be either under the sketch and ellipse, or the right click, and we'll come over to ellipse, and ellipse is part of that some of those algebraic functions of partial ellipse, the parabola, and the conic section. The other thing that we can start doing is the S key, and let's move up a little bit so we get a little bit more. In the S key you'll see those same types of icons, and if you hover over them they'll start to pop up. Whichever one you're most comfortable with, whatever you're most familiar with, that's the way that you should go with it. And then let's see, that was Sketch Tools. I needed to be in Sketch Entities, and we'll pick up the ellipse. And with the ellipse, I'm going to draw the center. It's going to look like a circle, and whenever we see that dash 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 line, then you're going to be required to do one more drag to get it to its finished size. So like the 3-point arc, you have that dashed line. It's saying, give me an idea of where you want to end up, and then when we apply the dimensions, it'll bring it into its finished size. Alright, so on that first dimension, we weren't too far off. If I'd drawn the ellipse too small or too big, that first dimension would auto-scale. If I bypass the first dimension, then scaling can get a little bit different, but it gets us started. Alright, so we have a circle. And we'll go right into our circle, and I'm looking for that yellow box that says it is going to be coincident to the center line. Go ahead and put a dimension on it, 2.76, and from center, and then I mentioned the radial diametral, or the half dimension, full dimension. If I bring this to the other side of the center line, you're going to notice that it doubles. So if this was between the two centers across, kind of like as a mirror, and as long as I stay between the selection and the center line, then it's going to be a radial or a half dimension. Those are handy in revolves and also in other styles of dimensioning. So 1.5. Let's go ahead and put in the polygon. And you may have noticed that I'm not getting out of each command as I go to the next one. It's pretty much a flow. If you stop and think about it, you can put the, pick the select if you're going to do some other type of operation. But for the most part, we can just kind of seamlessly go. Alright, so here's a case where I put the dimensions on, not sure why it's still in blue, so my first diagnostic tool is grab one of the points and move, drag, and we'll kind of get that sense of, oh, I need to make something, give something a relation to put it in place. So horizontal relation brings that into the geometry. Alright, so we need another circle. And again, putting it coincident to the center line. And then the 0.75, I'm going to go a little bit bigger on that one. Alright, so our diameters had a radius of 0.75, and then this one's actually given as 0.625. Oh yeah, forgot to bring up that we have kind of a mix of 0.625, where did I see it? The 4.250, 6.500, and then the radius is at 2 decimal places, and then the other diameter at 2.76. So it just gives us a mix, and that variation might come up a little later on. Alright, so a radius of 0.75 is going to be a diameter of 1.5. And if I go back into the liters and we make that radial, and that kicked me out of the dimensioning, so bring that back. And going to the node point, I may be able to pick up onto that that ellipse, but it's going to be a little safer to grab the point at each of the four quadrants to be able to put that dimension in. 0.75, so that comes up and touches. And then we have the larger circle, the outer circle. Alright, so we need another arc, and then we're going to need, so let's go with the center point arc, and it looks like it starts here, but that is just an assumption. So I want to do a quick double check. Okay, so it's coming down to that node point intersection, and I don't see any other dimensions or offsets, and this would be an offset to ellipse, not to an arc. So I think yeah, I think we're going to have to go with that. All right, so center point arc, pick the center, find our start point, watch out for any of those inferences, and then we'll pick that. And it's kind of hard to tell if it went, but let's go ahead and put in the tangent arc. So now that I have an endpoint, I can go tangent, and we'll bring that back around, make sure it gets coincident, and then I can either escape or right click and select. And since that is still highlighted in blue, I can go right into holding down the control button and selecting tangent. Alright, so that is a 0.5. We know that that was the 3.62. And then my last arc, got into the select sketch entities, there we go. Tangent arc, that's going to come back around this way. And control select will make those tangent. Alright, so these three, and what did we end up? Oh, radius of 0.25. And I try to keep the dimensions somewhat organized. Sometimes they get a little messy on top of each other. If you just pick a convenient place to place them, they don't get too unwieldy. So going into the mirror command, I'd like to do the pre-select. So I've selected all three items. If we go right up to mirror, all right, mirror entities, or right click, sketch entities, nope, that would have been sketch tools, and down to mirror. Alright, so since I did not select the center line, I need to put in the mirror about. Alright, and then that gives me the finished geometry. So in this, if we're going to stay with the sketching format, we'll go ahead and trim those out. And one of the reasons that I don't trim, or I don't trim very much, is that sometimes the trim can create some unforeseen issues that it's just easier to bypass it and use the contours and regions to create our geometry. But for starters, until we have a little more information or on the geometry, we'll go ahead and trim some of those out so it looks like the sketch. All right. So that gives us our geometry. We're ready for the next one.